Hello, everybody. Welcome to NUFC Talk TV, live with another late night show with the latest news in Newcastle United stratosphere. A lot of news, not confirmed news, but a lot of rumors, I guess we could say. So we got things to talk about, of course. Welcome to the channel. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and become a member if you can. You can gift memberships away. You can super chat if you want to. Help us support the channel, super sticker, whatever it's called. Whichever it is, you can choose to do that and help the channel keep growing. And of course, it's free to just hit the like button and help us out. But also sign up for the prediction tournament competition that we have every week for the 25-26 season. You can hit the link. It's pinned in the chat. You send your £5 in, and you sign up for the whole tournament. You give your weekly predictions, and you have a chance of winning some money back. We add all the money, and we're divided into the first 5-6 places. So we got. Let me see. Let me check real quick. We got over £100, I think. I would say. So it's got. I don't know if Gary probably hasn't signed up yet. So we got Gary. We got Gary to go. We got a few others to go. So it's got a chance to increase. So the last one is Ian Fleming. So there you go, Ian Fleming. Thank you for signing up. Let's see, Leonard Butler. Who is that? We got to get Leonard Butler's name or YouTube name out there. But he sent his £5 in. So thank you very much. We got $138. So what would that be in pounds? About over £100 somewhere.
Yeah, it's about 115, 120 quid.
Yeah, so there you go. So we broke the 100. So come on, keep signing up. We need as many people as we can. There's no cheating, no fraud. You just got to be good at predicting, and there will be no issues. So Roy Cavian is there. Everybody's there. Derek Platten, Mighty Win sending money for PDK. He hasn't signed up yet, so that's another guarantee. There you go. And shout out to Mighty Win, by the way. He's been very busy, so shout out to him wherever he's at. He's busy at in the downtown. Getting
the buy one get one free.
Oh boy, it's a senior discount month, man. So he's gonna be off for a long time. But we got Boki, we got Rolly here, and Gary, of course. How's it going, fellas? All good?
All good.
Yeah, really good, Chris.
All good in the neighborhood. And we got a few news to talk about. I guess we can start with Gordon. He's been linked away again to Liverpool, the same link over and over. It keeps coming, it goes away, it comes back, it goes away, it comes back. I mean, we had a little bit of a discussion before the show started between Rolly and Boki about, Rolly wouldn't sell him, Boki would sell him for 80 million. So I think 80 million is a little bit low, though. But we're not a selling club, so we have to make it hard unless the player wants to leave. And by the way, it might not be out of this the realm of things that he, that could happen that he wants to leave. So I wouldn't be surprised, especially at Liverpool.
When he said in after the Carabao Cup final, one of the videos the club put out is saying how he loves it in Newcastle. The manager's perfect for his style. He's really happy. I think he was unsettled at the beginning of the season because it was mooted that he could go, and that was because of PSR.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, everybody thinks that Liverpool want him, so that's why it keeps coming up.
You don't think Liverpool want him?
I think if they could get him for 60 or 70 million, they'd go. But we're not going to entertain. I don't think we'll actually entertain any offers for him. They'd have to go over 100,
right?
Which they won't, because as I said before the show started, the whole point of what we're doing is to build something. You don't build something by selling all your best players, irrespective of what.
I mean, that is true. But if if Liverpool wants him, and Gordon gets moved by it, he can try to force a move out. And when the player wants to leave, then you are really in trouble, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I agree. But he's, apart from when the move was a possibility, he's showing no inclination that he wants to leave.
Yeah, but I mean, what the player says to the public, Rolly, is, I mean, he's not going to say I want to leave.
But we've not heard it since the from the player or from people that there's when the deal didn't go through, people said his head was turned, and then after a couple of months of the season, all that stopped,
Yeah.
and there's been nothing about it.
So TBR football journalist Graham Bailey offered. I mean, he gave his opinion on this. That one day he thinks that Gordon will probably end up at Liverpool. It doesn't mean that he will this summer, obviously, but one day, one would tend to think that.
I don't think he'll ever get rid of the rumours when you see Anthony
until he
Gordon.
goes there.
Well, Anthony Gordon's really good mates with Curtis Jones, and he's been photographed on holiday with a lad.
Oh yeah, was there something about Instagram where
coming to the Toon?
Sorry.
Does that mean that Curtis Jones is going to sign for Newcastle?
I mean, it swings both ways, doesn't it? And I think, like I say, while you've got this link, he's a fan of Liverpool and everything else, he's out there partying with Liverpool players. It was the same. My camera's just gone off. I do apologise. I'll try and get that back on in a second. When you look at it, you've got to look at all the picture, the whole thing, and you've got to say all of the journals will see that as a link some way because it's clickbait. So they'll put a story out there, and I read a crazy story the other day about our coaches, and when you actually fine print it, the Liverpool Echo are just trying to unsettle Isak. They're just trying to unsettle Gordon. They'll try and unsettle any star future-wise that could potentially have his head turned. Now, I can't blame Gordon for potentially having his head turned because it was actually Newcastle that put him there on the market at the start of all this. So, as soon as he was offered out to Liverpool as a potential sale because of the PSR issues, that ain't ever going to go away. It ain't ever going to go away while the likes of Diaz is on for sale for Liverpool and things like that, because they're trying to upgrade their team, and you've got to take your hat off for the business of what Liverpool have done already in this transfer market. They've gone really quick, and they've got it settled before even July starts. So they've already got they've got what their intentions. They've seen what their intentions were, and they've gone out there early and done the business. Now, I think when you look at the likes of Isak being linked to them, it's have they got the money? Because if they're going to come with what they're doing with Wirtz, where they're going to put a lump sum down and then a period of years before they complete the full agreement, then are Newcastle going to accept things like that? No, they're not. If they're going to go, these players, they're going to have money up front. So I think a lot of it is BS. I just think a lot of it is media speculation.
So while you get your camera fixed, you might want to reboot. Boki, you would sell him for 80 million if the offer came in.
I think at 80 million, you've got to start thinking about 80 rising to 100%. He's the one player on the team that you've got a ready-made replacement for in Barnes, and you then get a youngster in behind him. And it just makes FFP out of the question for the next few years. Now, then it just means you can bring in who you want. That's maybe the one big player who we can get rid of. And to be perfectly honest, at 80 to 100 million, if Liverpool offered that, I'd get in my car and drive him down myself. And I think I think it's ridiculous money for someone who last season wasn't great. He's had one good season for me.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with that. I mean, I don't quite honestly don't think he deserved all that money, yet. But I mean, he's got good potential, certainly. But in Newcastle right now, if he's not sold, he needs to perform. Like he's getting the type of money that there's no negotiating. He needs to perform. He needs to be one of the best players for Newcastle. Plain and simple.
I think he will be next season. I think there's a bit of mitigation for the last season, as I say, with him being offered to Liverpool because of the PSR problem. It took him a while to get over that mentally. I can understand that because he fought
a whole season though, Rolly.
No,
really, how much money?
When we got into that good run, he was playing really well, and then he got sent off against Brighton. then he got injured when he was coming back from that, and then Harvey Barnes was playing so well that he couldn't get back in the team. So
but
it
he's
wasn't all the
so
season.
much money, Rory. You kind of justify him having bad patches if it just based on his.
Well,
not
we don't know what was on before he signed the new contract, and that was recognition because he signed the new contract after all the Liverpool shenanigans at the beginning of the season.
Right.
But then
so
he took his
much
mind
better
right.
money there.
But his new contract was based on the season before.
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. He'd earned that.
I don't agree with that because you have to do more than one good season to earn a lot of money.
Yeah, and so he's got to perform this coming season.
Yeah. Well, I think we can all agree with that.
I think there is some mitigation for. I mean, his numbers weren't sort of like awful, but they weren't as good as the season before.
Elanga had a better season than Gordon.
I'm not denying that, but it wasn't like he had a characteristic Miggy season. His levels dropped. He's got to pick him up and go beyond what he did the season before last.
For certain. My only issue with Gordon is really what I think he's got attitude problems. When things are not going his way, I feel like he pouts and I feel like that's the way I think you need to be mentally tough if you're a footballer. That things are not going your way, that's fine, but you got to get up and keep going. I
think Gordon's agent did a good thing for Gordon himself in that he didn't get him to sign a long-term contract when he first signed for it.
When he first signed, yeah.
We had to extend his contract, but now it's sort of the fact of, do you think he's the player that's going to be the one that takes to that next level? And at times, looking at him, you don't think he is.
But that works both ways, though, Boki, doesn't it?
100%.
You know what I mean? Exactly. Yeah. Because you're in a situation. If he hadn't have extended that contract, we've virtually given him away. You'll not get the 40-odd million back that you'd paid out because you're into your last year of your contract. So I think by getting him to extend it, it was a little bit of a guarantee for Newcastle. For any club coming in, they would get at least their money back, if not more.
Yeah, I think he's worth 100 million because of what you think he'll do in the future. If I think that would be my price tag for him if they want to come sell him. So buy him.
I think the other thing you've got to remember about Anthony Gordon, he's still 24, so he's nowhere near his peak. So. True. So in the way Eddie develops players, right? He didn't have the greatest of seasons by the standards that he'd set for himself, and he'll know that. But he was instrumental in us getting to a cup final, though he couldn't actually play in that cup final. It wasn't like he was poor all season. In the run when we won 9 on the trot, he was outstanding. So it was more a patchy season than a bad season.
Yeah,
he still contributed. And I think what's going to help him this time is he's going to have a break. Don't forget, for 2 seasons, the lad never stopped playing football. He was in the Euros with the under-21s. He's played virtually 2 full seasons in the Premier League. And I think a lot of it was just the fact that he was tired of football, because I think you can, I think, as we all get tired of the jobs that we do on a day-to-day basis, when you're putting everything out on the field, and I know people say to me, these guys are professional. They're only playing 1 or 2 games a week. Why can't they do that? It's not just that. It's everything that comes with that. You've got to think of your lifestyle. Well. Yeah, it's your lifestyle. Your lifestyle completely changes. They haven't got that freedom of just going and doing the shopping when they want to, because of the security side of things. So it is a different way of life. And sometimes, the professional football side, I think sometimes we forget that they are prisoners within 4 walls most of the time. And mentally, that can have a massive effect on you.
Can I ask you a serious question, lads? Who would you have chose this season for England? If you were England manager, would you have chose Barnes or would you have chose Gordon to play on the left wing?
For England?
Oh, that's a good question, because Barnes didn't play a lot. He played at the end of the season.
The thing is,
he played well. It's That's a difficult one.
No, I think Barnes had a better season than Gordon by a mile because Barnes
Barnes,
actually, yeah, because Barnes actually was critical and
Direct.
very accurate in winning Newcastle games. And Gordon didn't do that. He didn't do neither nor.
but
So,
Barnes didn't play. Right, his
oh, he didn't play. That's a manager's
his
decision.
output
That's
was good, but he missed quite a bit for injury as well as being second fiddle
true.
to Gordon. But
And
it's a tough question. If I was
I,
England manager, I would have taken them both.
now,
well,
but
I
there
mean,
is a misconception on Barnes though that he doesn't get a call over England, and
Yeah,
he
and
just doesn't.
I think he's been handicapped by the number of games that he's played.
And Gordon will get a call up no matter if he plays the whole a horrible season. He will still get a call up. So that's just you know I guess
I think the biggest trouble with Harvey Barnes is that there's a lot of players of a similar ilk to Harvey Barnes. Eze, just naming one, plays in a similar type role as Barnes, playing that inside left position where. Gordon's more the speed merchant. Gordon's more the player that you'd put on teams that want to press you high up the field. If you want to play a low block, there's more chances of the likes of Eze playing where you just control the ball and play into the channels and try and feed overlaps into the box for the likes of Kane to get on the end of. So I think it's like I said for Newcastle, you've got two totally different types of player depending on the opposition that you're playing. You've got two perfect wingers that can actually fit the bill, one for a low block team and one for a high pressing team where you've got a player that can get in behind with pace. So what Harvey Barnes and Anthony Gordon actually gives you is an answer to the opposition. And I think sometimes you lose one of them. If you sell one of them, what you have then is a headache of who else do you put in that position? Because everybody else that plays there, J7, Willock, are all very similar type players. None of them have got an outburst of pace that can get in behind. Yes, Willock's got a pace about him, and he's got the skill set now and again to beat. But it's when they get into that final third decision making then. And I think sometimes what we end up doing is losing that final third decision maker by having one of them two out. And you've also got to take into consideration Anthony Gordon isn't a natural finisher, where Harvey Barnes is a natural finisher. And I think we've seen that in front of goal. From in and around the box, defenses are a lot more scared of what Harvey Barnes are going to do more than what Anthony Gordon's going to do, because 9 times out of 10, Anthony Gordon's just going to try and get around the back of you.
I do agree. I think Harvey Barnes is a lot more dangerous than Gordon. Now, I mean, listen, I don't have anything against Gordon. I mean, I don't think he's justified his salary, and I don't think that he is proven yet to be that guy. And he might be, but
We'll
you
find
gotta
out
wait.
next season.
Yeah, so he might be, but good thing is he's on the team. So that's I don't think Newcastle want to sell him anyway. Liverpool.
I think,
But you can't blame the other side. People get so angry about these things. You can't blame Liverpool for wanting to sign Gordon. I mean, that's a good thing.
the other thing about Gordon is that, particularly for defenders, pace frightens them, and Gordon is full of it. Pace, that is. Maybe I should have used a different script.
I think Harvey Barnes' biggest problem is he's seen as a better player if he comes off the bench, in that he's a goal scorer that can potentially change the game. Gordon's more of a setter upper, whereas Barnes is actually someone who can score a goal.
Yeah. I think there's again, it's a case of how do you want to play. As Gary said, Barnes would be better against certain opposition, where Gordon would be better against others. And I think Gordon tends to play better when he starts, but Barnes is a difference maker off the bench. I don't know, he wouldn't see himself as that, but I don't think he frightens defence. I think there's more panic in the defence when Gordon's running at them when Barnes is, though they should be more worried about Barnes because he's a better finisher. But I think it's just the reputation the two guys have got. And the other things with Gordon, he's good at buying free kicks in dangerous areas. I mean, not last the season just finished, season before, he got us about, I think it's about 3 penalties just by quick thinking and his pace to get to the ball before the defenders actually realised he's there and gets clobbered. So he.
But I also think, though, Rowley, that individually, Gordon's a very selfish player. So what you end up doing with Anthony Gordon is he seems to always want to beat the player, not once, but he'll try and do it twice. We saw that in the goal he gave away. A couple of goals he gave away when he loses the ball to try and beat that next player when there's an easy layoff 5 yards square of him. When he runs deep towards his own goal, it's great on the defensive, but when he wants to try and beat players, sometimes it can be detrimental to the squad. And I think what Harvey Barnes does, what you were saying about, how defenders would rather see face Harvey Barnes than Anthony Gordon. Yes, Anthony Gordon's got pace and he can get in behind. And yes, he finds a lot of he does get fouled a lot of the time, but he also loses the respect of a lot of people and players around him because he does go to ground quite quickly and easily at times. And I also think with Harvey Barnes, he's a squad player. You look at the way he waits for players on that build up, on that second momentum switch. He'll hold the ball up and he'll not dilly with the ball. He won't try and beat a player. He'll wait for the player to overlap and feed him in and then go again for that second phase. And I think, sometimes you've got to have the best of both to try and challenge these Premier League top sixes now. And that's what I said. For me, I think it's great for Eddie Howe to have this headache. Who would you play? And what type of system would you play? Because I think if you're playing the press, Anthony Gordon is the man for the press. If you're not playing the press and you're just playing up on a slow build-up, that's the type of keeper he's going for, that he can build up from the back. Then I think it's Harvey Barnes all day for me.
Yeah, we gotta add Mighty Win into the conversation. There you go. We gotta.
As long as he's behind bars, we're all right.
He's behind bars. He ain't got no mic. He's just gonna sit there next to us because people are asking for Mighty Win. I don't know why really, but they're asking for him. But he's busy. He's got a busy week ahead of him this week, so he'll be missing this one. He's all right though. No problem. All right, let's talk about Marc Guehi a little bit because it looks like Liverpool are very much interested. And we did mention it, I think, last week as well. But, it's
I love what Stephen's just put there. Live from Hedonism 2.
There you go. Leave it alone. Leave it. Team Season says, Chris, what is this rubbish? Anthony Gordon has had a good season. Let's remember he's been here 3 seasons now. First season, couldn't adapt. If he can't create or score, he's not a great player. I'm not sure their team what you're trying to say, but you're saying that he had a good season. Listen, he had a good season the first season, the second season, but the third season he didn't. So why somebody's got to tell me why he deserves 180,000 pounds a week? Because that really seems like what we can pay to any the maximum, right? I mean, you can probably give Isak like what 230, 250, but that would be like it. Like you can't give nobody else that amount of money. So I don't think that he's earned that. But anyway, Marc Guehi, it seems to be that he is the target for Eddie Howe. It has been for a long time, and we seem to not get off of him. I mean, we're just very much fixated on Marc Guehi. Can we really compete against Liverpool is the question. I mean, I just don't know. I think he will have to come. Other than, obviously, we can offer him first-team football, and they really, I don't know if they can. And unless they sell Konate.
But I think that's what worries me, if I'm honest. I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, Marc Guehi's come out and said he's more than happy to stay at Crystal Palace and see his last season out and go on a free. He's got no rush or ideal situation for him is to carry on playing football because that's what he wants to do, as you've just said there. Crystal Palace want to sell him because they want the money because they know they missed out on their opportunity last season when we went in for him, but they wanted silly money. Liverpool, though, you see, you say that about Konate. Konate is in his final season. Now, if Konate has done, or is potentially doing a Marc Guehi situation here, where Liverpool are happy to see him go after he sees his season out on a free, have they spoken to Marc Guehi, or the representatives of Liverpool spoken to Marc Guehi and said, do the same and we'll guarantee your first team football when Konate leaves? There's always the options there. And that's what worries me, because Liverpool have got the pull. Well, but I mean, the only thing that would be stopping Marc Guehi going, as you've rightfully said, is game time.
Yeah.
The one thing this season is we don't need to get fixated on him. The other right centre backs around that could easily do the job.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't need, and this is my big worry about Eddie Howe now being completely in charge of transfers, is that he seems to have this focus on English players or players that he's thought of that he won't deviate.
Well, listen, I don't see anything wrong with I don't see anything wrong with focusing on Guehi. I think Guehi is a top signing, but I mean, it just might not work as far as signing him.
We can't go like we did last season.
Yeah, well, I agree with that. I
think what happened, my opinion on what happened last season, is that Palace gave us a price and we thought, yeah, we're happy with that. We went in with that price, and Palace, Steve Parish is a wily old git, but he's a businessman. He says, well, if we said that's our price and they've come in with that price, we obviously haven't asked for enough. They'll pay more. So he kept moving the goalposts. I think that's what happened.
But then as a big club role, you move away from that. You go on to another player.
Yeah, but
that look, we're not going to get involved in it, especially if it's a second season with the same player. You have to enter around.
The other thing with Guehi in the last summer is that we obviously thought we're going to get him, and there is I think it's Craig Hope's article about when it came out that Mitchell was leaving, that he said that he could get Guehi and didn't, and then the alternatives he offered had been scouted, and they pretty much everyone in the scouting department said no, he's not a good fit for what we want to do. He's not the right sort of player. He's not the right standard, and we left it too late. I'd admit that, but I think with Guehi, at the end of the day, it's up to him, because it's everything's in his court. Liverpool have more pull, but will he play enough games? And it's a World Cup year, so he wants to be playing.
Yeah, I agree with you, Rowley. But you've got to look at it from Eddie Howe's point of view. Now, we all heard the stories about Mitchell not getting the deal done with Guehi, but PIF have got a price for every player. They're not just going to go throwing money at players that aren't of value. So Marc Guehi fits the actual, if you like, 1-for-1 with Fabian Schär. He's a similar type of player, a player who can distribute the ball passing through lanes, which is what they want. That's what they're looking for. And that's why, when you look at Marc Guehi being, as been said before, Premier proven English player, I don't think it matters the nationality. I think the reasons why they've highlighted Marc Guehi out of everybody is they want that type of player, a player who can go from the defensive line, dropping into that 6 and not feel out of place. And I think the likes of Marc Guehi does that on a week-to-week basis with Crystal Palace. Yes, he plays more of the left centre-back role, but he does move up into that 6 role. And what that does then is frees up the likes of the Tonalis and our main players then to move further into that field, where sometimes we do have a gap with not having a 10. And I can understand what Eddie Howe is looking for and the type of player he's looking for. And I have for me, I said if I was going to go for a type of player who was all he wants to do is break lines, then, Van Hecker for me, he's top of the list with that, because he's head and shoulders above every single centre-back for those passes, right to left diagonals, through the middle, and all that. So, for me, there is other players out there that have played Premier League, but they'll come as a cost because they are different to a natural defensive centre-back. that's just there for the tackling. And again, if anybody's watched the Dan Burn interview at High Performance, he gives you that type of information, where he was saying about all of them just having a role to do. And like Dan Burn says, what's the point in me trying to do what Fabian Schär does? Because it's not in my locker. If I want to play to pass a ball, I'll pass it to Fabian. If I want to play to keep hold of the ball in midfield, I'll give it to Bruno or Tonali. That's not my strength. I want the players that do the job to play that style of football. And I think that's what Eddie Howe's looking for. He's looking for a perfect replacement for Fabian Schär. And if you can get Marc Guehi at the right price, what you get then is, an English international, Premier League proven. So there isn't going to be a need to bed him in slowly. He should be naturally pushed into the side for Eddie Howe to choose from that 11. And we've seen that with a lot of European players that have come into the Premier League. They do start for a lot of opposition teams, but they don't always hit the ground running until a few weeks in, and then all of a sudden you start to see them shine. And I think that's the reasons why Eddie's going for that style of player. But Mitchell didn't fail in getting Guehi. What Mitchell did was put £50 million down, and it was Crystal Palace that kept moving further and further away. And, there was no way that we were going to go anywhere near the 65 million, which is what Crystal Palace wanted. We offered them 50 million. Eddie Howe was given a number of opportunities to go for post that, which Eddie Howe didn't want to do because they wasn't of similar ilk to Fabian Schär.
Yeah.
I think the other thing you've got to remember, is being reported by some of the Northeast journals, is that the club are really happy that their European targets are still unknown. That they have targets in Europe. Everyone says Eddie Howe just wanting English players. They do look abroad, but they want to keep it under wraps so that they don't have Chelsea swooping in to nick him off us.
They might keep it. They might be doing too well of a job to keep him under wraps because they don't even get to sign him. So at some point you just got to get the deal done, man.
Well, look what happened with Isak. No one knew about that until 2 days before we signed him.
Yeah, but we keep going to the same players. It's been 3 windows in 23 days.
Oh, so, yeah. I mean, we didn't try last window for Guehi.
Okay.
But,
we did. What do you mean we didn't? We did. We got. It was all the way until the wire for Marc Guehi.
Who's actually trying to do the deals at the minute?
And that's the question because Mitchell's out, Darren Eales is out. I would assume Mitchell is going to be involved. Eales is going to be involved, I guess, when he needs to sign something. But I just don't know. There's no clarity in the club right now. We just say Steve Nixon, yeah.
Who decides on wages for players? Who decides what's the right salary? Who decides what's the right sign-on fee?
That all has to be signed off by Yasser.
Yeah.
The sign off on everything, so they decide what's what. They'll be told what they can pay and what they can't pay.
Well,
but this should all have been signed off before this window. There should have been a new CEO in place, a new director of football. And we should have had somebody in place who was completely running the club. At the minute, it just seems like a shambles of shit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's very unclear, and people will say. I remember Steve in the chat used to say this. Maybe he thinks it's the same thing that that they don't need to tell us anything. But then don't expect fans to be happy. Don't expect them to not be negative. Don't expect because they can only assume. In a Newcastle, there's nothing more dangerous than a Newcastle fan assuming, because a Newcastle fan has been done wrong way too many times, and if you let a Newcastle fan's mind wander, it will go right down to the gutter, and that's just plain and simple. Real Madrid fans can assume that they're going to win every Champions League every year. It might happen, it might not, but we're different, and you gotta let us know some level of information. Like this is who's being in charge. He's doing this, he's doing that. But if nothing is being told, then fans are just gonna assume the worst. And quite honestly, I don't blame them. So,
Chris, quick point on that. Imagine this was under I don't like to mention his name, but Ashley.
Yeah.
If we had went through three windows, not signed a player, got to this stage in this window, nowhere near signing a player, what would the fan base be like?
Oh man, are you kidding me? It would be.
Yeah, but I think the difference is that with the current ownership, they're trying to build something to win stuff. We've actually won something, so they have a lot of credit in the bank. Where Ashley was just happy to finish.
Well, there's no.
What proves that? Over the last 4 windows, what proves that they're trying to win something? They haven't signed a single player.
Carabao Cup.
Well, but that is that they didn't win that. It's the manager and the players.
Yeah, and who supplied the manager and the players? Piff.
4 or 5 years ago. That's it.
When they took us over, we were 19th. We've got in 3 seasons, we've had 2 Champions League and a trophy.
But there is not a consistent thing that you can see, and you can say this is what they're doing to improve. Look at the deals that there's no deals, the sponsorship, nothing is really. Everything is pretty much standing still.
I mean, with the stadium, it could possibly be for the training ground. The block is that the plan's in foot to move. Plus, with the stadium, I think, well, why should we? If you're coming to, if it's a business, someone's coming to you and said, "Oh, we want you to sponsor this, but we're going to be moving in the near future."
Yeah.
Why would you put a lot of money into what's there now? Yeah. So, I mean, I think they're still working behind the scenes to do it, but I think it's a bit more complicated than just going out and getting a sponsor.
Yeah, I mean, they are still pumping money in. I mean, that's something that we need to understand. It's not as if they've just turned their backs on us. The biggest thing for us is they're just waiting for planning permission to construct another part of the training ground, and that's simply because they need, now for recovery, especially now we've got another competition to be involved with, so it's going to be more games. They need to be up with the big boys now that are playing European football all the time. So, the cryo units and things like that, they've only got 1 unit within the training block for the team to use. So what they're trying to do now is build another building, but they're just waiting for planning permission to come in. So they are trying to upgrade us in some way. But again, everything at Benton now is going to take a while, because you've maxed out what you can there. Unless they move the whole thing elsewhere, like people still say it's going to be at the racecourse, and build a complex that fit for purpose, we are always going to be years behind the big clubs.
Yeah, it's going to take years to build.
Gary, what the money that they've spent so far has been what was needed just to upgrade with.
Yeah. Well, we've got rid of the bins for once.
They haven't spent the money that's needed to make Window an elite club.
Well, see, exactly. That's what and by the way, there is a report out there that we are close to being a 1 billion club, and we're going to do a show on that, I think Thursday. So stay tuned. We're going to take a look at what the article says, because I don't know. But go on, Rolly, finish your point.
I was thinking the thing about we need a state-of-the-art training ground, but that doesn't happen overnight. So they've got to upgrade what we've got so that they can build.
I quite honestly don't understand that. And maybe I'm just ignorant. But if I'm going to go from a small house to a mansion, I don't build a medium-sized house just to do it, and then while I build the big, it makes no sense. I just go out there and build it.
What I'm saying is, with a football club, you have a training ground that you use. It wasn't to the standard it needed to be, so they needed to upgrade it, because they still got to train whilst they buy the land and get the planning permission and build the new training grounds. They couldn't have left it as it was, so they had to upgrade it.
Okay.
It's a bit like when you're selling your house, you might give it a lick of paint to make it look better, to make it easier to sell. You got to upgrade it.
Okay.
So it's fit for what you want to do now, and then you have whilst you build the state-of-the-art places where you want to get to.
I think
that's a big problem. We're not building a state-of-the-art place.
Well, what we've already got though, Boki, is a footprint of what was remaining, and I think that's what I said. what you got to understand is, this project is going to be a wide and varied road. It's not just going to be as straight as the motorway. It's going to be, I've just read in the chat there that they should have been doing this as soon as they took over. The biggest problem is I think there was a number of issues with Newcastle. One, I keep saying we can't run before we can walk. And what they didn't want in the first season is a team that's going to get relegated. So I think when you look at it in an ideal world, yes, it would be nice for us to have a big super complex. Bournemouth have got this nice complex now. Brighton have got a state of the art. Man City have got a state of the art training complex. But these are already established clubs now within an area. These guys have come in and literally had to rebuild from the foundations up. So I think sometimes, like I said, we've got to see where we get to with the team first, keep them secure. And I think now you're starting to see an infrastructure starting to be built around them. And now you're starting to talk about a new stadium. They start talking about a state-of-the-art training area away from Benton, Darsley Park, somewhere else, whether that's at the racecourse or not. So it is in the pipeline, but I'm still of the opinion they will wait to see what happens with Leazy's Park, with the stadium, because if they do have to move out the city, I can see them having something like a Man City where they've got the whole complex in one location.
All right. We're going to move on, though. Sorry, Bucky, go ahead. Finish your point.
Oh, sorry. Gary, just on the back of that as well, you've got to look at how long Sunderland have had their complex over there. They've had that perfect complex for a long, long time. We've had basically a
swimming pool in bins.
Fucking weedy bins as ice bins.
Yeah, exactly, ice bins.
Yeah. That's ridiculous for us.
Talking about a signing, Fabrizio Romano came out today, says that negotiations between Newcastle and Burnley for James Trafford are underway. Club talks continue as the deal can happen from July, so expected to accelerate from next week. So a lot of people have their high hopes that next week is when Newcastle will be bringing all the players. They'll just go take a bus to the airport and they'll just all start coming out automatically July 1st at midnight. And that may be it. That may be right. But Trafford, I mean, the conversations, I would suppose they have been underway already. It's just that £40 million is what they wanted before. Is not going to be. It's not going to be feasible. This thing here, by the end, NUFC blog says regarding Trafford and the fee it may take. Reports emerged almost 2 weeks ago that Newcastle were threatening to walk away from a deal if Burnley didn't come down from the £40 million that they wanted for him. That's too much money and too much energy for a goalkeeper, in my opinion. I keep saying that, but that's what I think. I just can't. How much would you pay for Trevor? I don't know, 20 million.
I think. Yeah. I mean, I would have said, it's not a gamble if it's 25 million. Anything above that, then it becomes a gamble, doesn't it? If you like, because we know he's done well in the Championship, but that's a totally different kettle of fish. People will always complain about him taking or being part of the side that got relegated. Now, unfortunately, under that style of football where company's never going to change, you're not getting much change out of your pound with the amount of defensive leaks that there was there. So again, as a keeper, you're only as good as the people in front of you. If they can support you in any way, then that's great. And I think it showed the difference with him keeping 16 clean sheets. Conceding, is it 16 goals?
16 goals.
And he 25 clean sheets, I think it was in the Championship. He is a keeper of some ilk, but like I said, I still think he's got a lot to learn. Mm-hmm. So I think it'll probably be a £30 million deal with bonuses, with add-ons.
Yeah, look, 20. Yeah, I think 25, somewhere around there. But it drains my energy, to talk about Trafford, because I feel like we're not worried about not us. I'm talking about Newcastle. We got a job to do here. We got to talk about whatever's happening with the club. So don't blame us for what's out there. Blame the outlets that that bring this up. But do we expect really to all the signings to happen after July?
I think that we'll get a couple early doors, and then there'll be some as the season goes, as we approach the season. I think I know Eddie wants them done early, but I think that's to try and get a couple in before we actually go on tour. Then I think we need about 4 or 5, and I think that what Romano's saying, it looks like they want to get Trafford done and dusted quickly. And there are other players that they're after, which maybe there's some movement in the prices, because there's talk of Forest getting a couple of players in that play a similar position to Elanga, so maybe there's movement there. Obviously, they're going to try for Guehi again, so there could be a couple that come in quickly, and then some more towards the end of the season. Well, sorry, the transfer window, I should say.
Yeah. Boki, you want to weigh in on Trafford real quick before we move on?
I think we need to be quick this season. So if a player's not, if the club aren't willing to negotiate and we're not willing to pay the price, then just say, look, that's it, right, we're on to the next player. So we've got to have like a list of players who we're going to go for, rather than just stick on like we did last season with Guehi, which was ridiculous, to be honest. We need to have a list of players, and as I say, when you go into a club and if they say this is a price, we say, well, we're not paying that, move on to the next club.
Well, I mean, they do have a list of players, but we as supporters don't know whether when they've approached the club, the club aren't willing to sell. So it's made me think we've got.
But if they're not willing to sell Rowley, then move on to the next club.
Oh, yeah. But
like we did with Crystal Palace last season.
I think, this is my opinion, is I don't think they would have gone on as long if Crystal Palace hadn't been saying, oh, yeah, we can get a deal done, and then kept moving the goal. I mean, maybe they should have realised that they're pulling a plonk earlier than we did.
But we're a big club now. We don't need a fool for that. We need to say to them, look, this is the final price. This is the deal.
Yeah, the problem is, if you go in at their asking price, they're going to think, oh, we haven't asked for enough. We'll go in. It's a negotiation. So you go in with your valuation, what you want to pay, and you hope that you can get somewhere where both sides are happy. It doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
And the way
you set a price and then you say that's it. If you aren't going to accept it, sorry, we're going to move on to the next player.
I agree with that when you negotiate a long time and they're not, giving up. But obviously, when you start a negotiation, you can't say this is take it or leave it, because I mean that's not much of a negotiation.
Yeah.
But I do agree. When time has passed, at some point you just got to say, look, we're not going above this.
Yeah.
Quickly, I had good. I thought this would be a good topic of conversation. I mean, I don't think this is anything. If there's no information about this really, but somebody wrote an article, Liam Bursby, about Newcastle urged to re-sign talented star who never wanted to leave. We have money, in quotes. Listen, I haven't really read this whole thing, but I'm not going to say that it is true or anything. But I think it could be good to have a quick conversation on Anderson. And he's a player that's played really well last season. I mean, he's not a player that will cost a lot of money, I wouldn't think. But it will cost more than, what we got probably from him anyway. But what do you think about a possible return? There's no such thing as a buyback clause. That's don't listen to Mighty Win there in the jail cell. That doesn't exist. That would be a loan, but there's no buyback clause. But I would assume that he'd want to come back at some point.
I would want to come back, but I don't think Forest will want to.
We could need help in the midfield. By the way, you get rid of Longstaff and Willock.
Yeah, I could. I think that before we were forced to sell him, I think he was penciled in to be that Joe Linton replacement because he's got that physicality about him. But I don't think Forest will let him go. That's the problem.
Okay.
He'd jump at the chance of coming back, but I don't think, especially at this point in time, I don't think Forest will let him go.
What do you think, Gary?
Well, you've only, I mean, I've said for a long time,
give them back at the Jordan.
Yeah, what Anderson brings to you is like, you know, he's got little dog syndrome. He'll bite at everybody's ankles. He's a hassler. He'll win the ball back for you. He's not the you know, a quality player, a technical player, but he's that fighter. As Rowley said, you know, he would have been an ideal candidate when J7 got injured towards the end of the season to put straight into the team, and you wouldn't have felt as though you'd lost J7. Unfortunately, there's no other player within a black and white strip that plays a similar ilk. And what also Anderson gives you is he gives you a bit of product at the other end as well, with his running behind. So, you know, from being, I think he was second runner-up to Nottingham Forest Player of the Season, and that ain't a bad title to earn in your first season. Now, yes, he's got a lot to prove, and he's playing with a new set of lads. So I would have, you know, he would have probably given an extra 5%. But if he can continue that vein, you know, he's got the under-21 call up. He's got the England caps. You know, I would imagine now for something to aim for. He's playing regular football. You can see what we've got. I wouldn't have ever sold Anderson, but unfortunately we had to, or we'd have lost one of the stars. So for me, it was a case of if we can get him back, I'd have him back.
Nothing tells me that we couldn't have gotten rid of Willock and kept Anderson. But I think it's that
sellable asset.
I think that Eddie just chose between the two, and I would say he chose wrong in this particular case.
The other thing with Anderson, which helped because he's homegrown, I hate the term, is pure profit, where you wouldn't get all the money going towards it for Willett. And do we know if you had anyone that was prepared to buy Joe Willett? Was he hooked to buy? We don't know.
But I mean, because Forest and Newcastle did a PSR deal, so you know, I think they would have taken Willock if he would have been on the table. But I think that Eddie didn't want him to go.
We don't know the ins and outs. Maybe they didn't want Willett; they just wanted Anderson.
It could be. Well, it could be. Boki, last one to speak on this.
I think if you look at the choices we had on the bench last season over who you would have as a sub, every time you would choose Anderson to come on rather than any of the ones that players were on.
Well, in hindsight, to be fair, yes, you know.
He's not of a level that he's a Premier League class player as such, but he is a very, very good to come on off the bench sort of player.
Yeah. It's Steve here. Says we're gonna go to the comments here in a minute, so I'll get to your comment, Steve, because it's interesting. Last but not least, Newcastle is officially announcing that this was 4 days ago, really, so not today thing, but that the stack has been, I guess, got a 5-year extension. So I guess where the stack is right now that is owned by the city council as well. I'm assuming because they're
Newcastle own the land.
So why are they?
Because what you've got, I think it's the actual units, because it's hired, isn't it? So I think they've got another lease for the units for 5 years. So it's the extension of the actual building, the cargo units that they've extended. But the land it sits on is Newcastle's. Yeah,
that is crazy.
And I also think what that does tell you is if they were going to expand the ground, that's out of the window now.
Well, no. That wouldn't happen. The official announcement was Thursday from the club saying that the 2,000 capacity fan zone and leisure destination has been given the green light for Newcastle City Council to remain on the site until 2030. Why is it Newcastle City Council? What?
Yeah, City Council, they do the planning permissions and licenses.
Yeah.
So
for the entertainment and stuff like that. So
2031, then that would be that's opposite the Gallagher end, and right, people will have a place to keep partying, I guess.
absolutely, it's
There
certainly
you go.
bringing in some revenue, which
And
is
by the
which
way,
is good news.
that thing works even not on match days. I think it's filled up anyway. Not as crazy as on match days, of course, but people do go there and have food, have drinks. Mighty Wind has been seen there hunting at night before, but not successful. But but he's been trying nonetheless. And so that's that. Let's go with comments real quick though before we go. Let me see. Comments that we've been highlighting. Mighty Mag, I've completely ignored the rumors. There you go. Steve, do the lads think Isak will extend his contract this window? In my opinion, he won't. Yeah, will extend. I don't know.
it depends.
Depends how much we offer him.
Yeah, that's going to be about, that's going to be it. That's going to be it. And listen, I think this is a key time to extend Isak, because it might be that the big juggernauts of football are still waiting for him to do it one more time, for to come and actually persuade him and get him. But so if we get him to sign a big contract now, it might be a lot tougher for him to leave the following season. Although, as I say, I'm a firm believer that if the player wants to go, it's pretty much impossible to maintain him in the
He's
club.
shown no inclination that he wants to leave.
No, yeah, you're right. But I'm saying if any player, if they want to go,
So
there's not
that's
much you
what.
can do.
I mean, I work in Liverpool, and all the Liverpool fans are saying, "Oh, well, if he puts in a transfer request or he wants to leave," it's like, well, he's not that sort of person. He's showed no inclination to want to leave. That if is doing a lot of heavy lifting.
Yeah.
Next season will be a massive season for Isak in that it depends how far we get in every competition.
Yeah.
If we get start to get like Champions League sort of,
he starts scoring a lot of goals in Champions League. Trust
he
me.
starts scoring a lot of goals. We could get him in a massive deal, but if we don't, then he's going to want a bigger club.
Yeah, true. And if he does well in Champions League, that will attract a lot of clubs that got a lot of money, man.
100%, Chris.
Leeds City, Gordon's technical abilities are average cash in for him now, and next season 75 million sale. Man, Leeds City. Choppy says, I will give Gordon a piggyback to Liverpool for 100 million. There you go. Steve, Chris Bruno does the same about Gordon pouting and all that. I don't think so. Not as much. He doesn't shut down. Bruno doesn't shut down. He doesn't stop playing. It's much different. I think Gordon just completely shuts down. And I think the only one that doesn't agree is Rowley. But it's okay. They're two Scousers, man. I'm telling you, man. They got to stick together, man. Michael.
Happy Clapper and Chief sidekick.
There you go. He's replacing Win right now at the moment. Win is being commenting, agreeing with you, so it doesn't surprise me. Michael says, I think it would be daft getting rid of Gordon or Barnes with the schedule we have across the board. One injury, we're knackered on left wing. True. Alessandro Minetti says, every report coming out about Newcastle right now is tosh. I can't stand it. The fact that we talk about selling our big stars is just ridiculous. We can't even fill a second 11 yet. WTF, we selling. Well, the thing is, look, don't get mad, man. It's just it's talk. It's football talk. That's all there is to it. We don't want him to go, but we're not creating this stuff, so don't get mad at us. Jordy Dan, if Gordon has a blinding season next season, hopefully his valuation will be even higher. Gives NUFC food for thought. Exactly. Gavin Fuller says the refs are on to Gordon's diving. All right. Tate says TT, very good signing for Everton. A big improvement on Young and Coleman. Moyes type of a player. I don't even know who he is.
Tete from Fulham.
Tete, yeah.
Oh, okay. Anyway, Steve says wages is our biggest problem. We can't sign the likes of Vert. Well, to be honest, yeah, I think we could have done. But listen, Liverpool got involved and they really wanted him, so they gave him everything he wanted. So it's just kind of really impossible. And he names a lot of players there. McKesson family would be protesting if it was Ashley and 3 windows without a signing. Exactly. Terry Thomas. Well, fact of the matter is there just isn't 200 acres going spare unless you go miles out of Newcastle. Well, we were speaking about the training grounds, I think. Jordy Dan, I love to resign Anderson. Let's go get Anderson back to his McKenzie family as well.
Resign.
McKenzie says should have given Willock and Longstaff instead of Anderson. What if you give 2 of those? Trust me, Forrest would have accepted. But then again, we're speaking in hindsight. I mean, last season we didn't know how it was going to turn out. So there you go. Queen of Heart, who do you fancy dropping for the new season? As far as what's she asking? Like who's not going to play or who's not going to be sold?
Is that a team? Are you talking about teams,
Yeah.
Queen?
Which one would it be? I don't even know if we're going to get rid of players. Trust me. I don't know. I'm just being a pessimist. But either way, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and join us. Tomorrow we'll be live again. I'll be live. It'll be me and Martin from the Mancunian Way talking about PSR and Man City's interest in Livramento. So there you go. Another show you're going to hate because another player not possibly, we're just talking about why they won him. So we'll do that one. And Wednesday, it'll be Gary. Did great, by the way. Gary did great last time. And he'll do another daily show on Friday. And Thursday night, we're back with the panel to discuss us being a £1 billion club, I guess. I don't know. That's what the media says. So we'll talk about that as well. Anyways, thank you, Rolly. Thank you, Boki. Thank you, Gary. And the incarcerated Mighty Win. Thank you, mate. Appreciate that. No smoking allowed in jail, man. Oh, my gosh. Anyways, folks, thank you so much. We will see you all on the next one. Ciao, ciao.
Take care, everybody.